All right, so this is the last video of the day. There's no particular idea here. It's just pretty much, it's gonna be about life in general and obviously having to do with my experiences. Again, I'm gonna, some of this stuff is I've already said, but I'll tell you again, um, being born as a baby, and even looking back at myself as a baby, or even just being a baby, I can say that life just felt very fluid and natural. What I felt is what I did, and whatnot. And it was really like, as I got older, I was almost in disbelief, because as I would get older, I'd be like, what's wrong with me, dude? Because I feel like I'm further and further away from who I was or who I am. Got to the point I was like 18 years old, looking at childhood pictures of myself, thinking, what the hell happened to me? I was totally different, man. Like, what the hell happened? Not really understanding things. And you know what? I didn't understand even at 18, 20, 21 years old, I didn't understand how limited my mind was compared to everybody. Like the same kids that were so much considered inept, when we would do all kinds of activities, those same kids had found their way, had found who they were, and they actually had grown. And that's something that I hadn't done. They had grown as themselves. They had grown, and they had, like, I had no idea how inept my understanding was. It was really like, in the last seven and a half years, like ever since I robbed that bank, it was like, like I started learning. So, and I'll tell you this again. So I started reading some books, and I started getting into books, and I was reading very unique books, and I remember thinking back to something I read it, and I was like, dude, that's stupid. That's not even possible, right? And I think back and I go, holy shit, man. Like everything in my instinct, I was like, dude, this is right, or I learned something. It's crazy, but fast forward to now. In 7.5 years, my mind was open. I started figuring out things that people knew when they were like 10 years old. Even regular, normal kids, 7, 8 years old, they knew stuff. And I didn't know it till I was like 26, 25, 26 years old, which is insane. I mean, like kids being known, and no one's like, nobody would even talk to me about this stuff. Not at school, not anywhere. Nobody would fill me in on anything. There was so much that people knew, and they would never tell me, not clearly, And I realized how much I learned over the last 7.5 years. Even going up to that robbery, the stuff I was reading and the level I was getting at was really cool. But it wasn't until like I did that robbery, and then I just started learning things. And believe it or not, man, one of my biggest things was like, I was like, dude, there's something in jail for me. Like if I go, and I'm not trying to promote jail, but I was like, dude, if I go to jail, man, I know I can find out what's going on in the underground, man. I know I can find out something. You know what I mean? And that was the biggest thing that drove me to jail, was information. I wanted information. I wanted to know stuff, not because I was working for the police or as an undercover cop, but just to get information for myself, to find out what's really happening, what's being said here. And even there, it was very difficult to really get guys to talk to you or tell you anything, but it was just a natural way of finding certain things. And even the years after that, all the learning I did, and we're talking about life here. And really, it's so funny, because I always talk about this date, the end of December after Christmas. I really, like, something changed in me, man. I really started feeling it. I was like, dude, like, I feel like I have a presence, and I feel like I'm myself. I'm not even like, it was like a change, like something just changed. It was like, I would see attractive girls now, and I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to check her. Oh, let me check her. Oh, I wasn't even doing that. I'd see a girl, and well, she looks good. That's it. You know what I mean? I didn't even have that. Like I wasn't even like doing that. And I even with my thinking and my emotions, I was just on a different thing. And that's when that was really when, and it's interesting because it had been a couple months before that I had first been poisoned, right? And it was like once, it was twice. Thought it wouldn't happen, and then I remember like ever since that day, like just 2 weeks in, like mid-January, it was like I don't know why I was attracting hate. I didn't understand that. I was just being me naturally. Almost not even like in an enclave, not even like into the world. I don't mean physically, but I mean like ego and self and persona was like I was in an enclave still. Like I was there, but I was within an enclave. And that was when I realized I felt like they were poisoning my enclave, and because they had maybe I was giving off those vibes, and they were figuring out what I really was, who I really was, what I was about, and it was like immediately I'm getting hit with poison, like all the time. Every few days it's like I'm getting hit with poison. I'm just getting poisoned over and over and over again and over again, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it was just about, I don't know if it was a week ago or something, I just felt like I got out of that enclave finally. And I was there in the world, but that really made me realize how much people, and certain people, how much they hate me. And I found out how much some people would sell me out like that, and listen, there's nothing wrong with somebody selling. This is the world, and that's the way it is. But for people to claim that they even like you, or they're in your corner, and then they're ready to sell you out like that. They don't care about you. They don't care about your families. They don't care about nothing, man. You know what I mean? Like they just care. They don't even care about their own families some of the times. All they think about is their money. They want their money, and then that's it. They want the money, and they're ready to sell you out for $20, man. They will sell your ass out and say, go to hell, dude. You know what I mean? And that was when I really started figuring that out. And I found out how like all these people in public would act like they like me, and they would be fake nice to me and all that stuff. And now it was like everybody was kind of showing me who they really are and how they really feel about me. And then you kind of start figuring out, what's going on. But even then, in the enclave, I felt very limited. And now obviously, and I've told you already, it's not anything. And I'm gonna tell you, it's just like being in life. I don't have to think about everything. I don't have to become a super genius. I don't have to read a million books, because I can feel and sense who I am. I'm naturally here. I'm in the world. I'm a human being, just like we're all human beings on this planet, because on planet Earth, if you're not an actual animal on planet Earth, you are a human being. We are all human beings on this planet. So for me to be a human being on this planet, not an enclave, like actually in the planet, is great. And really, I don't even have to put effort and think about things. It just like, I just move with how things are going. And I realized that because I always gave myself shit in my life. I always said if I was smarter, if I took better decisions, if my instinct was better, if I was faster, if I was more clever, if I worked harder because I was too lazy, if I did this, if I did that. And I always was hard on myself. Like I always was like, man, it's my fault, and all that stuff. And I don't, and that's when over my life, when I realized about time, turning 18 years old, for example, was a big thing. Kind of moved me a bit more forward, but all this, sometimes, man, that's how time is. You can't make it happen any earlier. You know what I mean? It happens. You can, obviously, but not that much of a difference. Things happen when they happen. You might be, oh, well, I want this to happen really early. It can be earlier, it can be a bit later, and you can get it. But whenever that time comes and you get it, you're there, man. But it's a good feeling, because now it'd be nice to live through other people, but when I'm out of that enclave and I'm in the world, I don't need to live through other people. I can live through myself, and there's no better feeling. And again, it's for human beings, it's like, well, that's ridiculous, man. Every single person on this planet has that, or almost every person. It's like, I didn't, right? So for me, it's something special, right? It's hard for me to look back and say stupid shit, because I'm like, dude, I just feel like I came into existence. It's hard for me to judge the world and judge my life due to like really old past experiences and things like that. Although I would take them into consideration only from a pure like informative point of view. But going forward, I mean, it's just it is what it is. The time is here. The time is there. Time for now is something. Time for another thing comes later and whatnot. And that's how it is. But at the end of the day, it's a good feeling. right? You naturally kind of understand what's going on, and that's something that everybody had. You know what I mean? And I have it now. What else can I say? I mean, there's not that much stuff to say. It's good to think for yourself. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It's good to have a little bit of knowledge. It's good to have a little bit of understanding when you think about things. I mean, I gotta tell you, the biggest prison for me was my mind. I was always in my mind. I was always in my head. I was never in the world. But then again, I don't blame myself, because I'm like, well, that's exactly what I should have been doing. If I wasn't in an enclave, if I was, and I'm telling you, people figured it out. I was living through people, and I think they figured it out. And when they figured it out, even the people I used to live through, they stopped it right away, because they didn't want anyone to trace it back to me. They didn't want it traced back to me that I was living through them. So they just stopped it right away, pretended like it never happened, running from it, hoping that that I'm never living through them. You know what I mean? There were many people like that, but they didn't want to tell anything about their past or anything like that. They didn't want to talk about how I'd been living through them, But that was the only way I could live. If I was not even in the world, how could I live? I had to live through others, just to make it, And once they figured that out, and I'm telling you, society really, really went hard on me, man. Because even before I committed that bank robbery, society went really hard on me, knowing that I was living through other people, that I couldn't live through myself. They had completely blocked me off, stopped everything. I felt like, by the way, I went to Cuba in 2014. I felt like Cuba in an embargo. I felt like I was trapped on an island, and there was an embargo all around me. And this huge country around me said, anybody who comes onto this island, no one is allowed on this island, okay? Nobody can come onto this island and do anything. You can't even import or export. And by the way, in Cuba, the food was horrible because they had no outside food, no spices, no nothing, okay?